Hello and welcome to Yerushalmi Berachos, Daf Pei Gimel. This blot is jam-packed with halacha, hashkafa, agada. So we'll try and catch as much of all those that we can, and I will also try to keep it as brief as I can as well, like I always do. All right, so let us start with another discussion we had about Imhaya Shamish Talmud Chacham. So like this. So it says that a person has fragrant oil. So if it's shamish the Talmud Chacham, taco bakosel, he should smear it in the oil on the wall and not on the waiter's head, which had been the other option. Don't even ask. She'ein shivcho Talmud Chacham lios yotze mebusam. It's not the dignity of a Talmud Chacham to go out in the street when he is perfumed. Now, this is parallel to the Bavli in Berachos Daf Mem Gimel Amud Beis, but there it says a different lashon. Shegenai l'Talmud Chacham, let's say l'shek kishu mavusam. Now, I'm not going to go into the halachic ramifications of wearing a deodorant or cologne nowadays, whether that is beganisha or what the ganai is, etc., etc. That you could ask your own posek. But the bottom line is that this lashon of is it ganai l'Talmud Chacham, is it a negative thing, or is it ein shivcha Talmud Chacham, that it's not dignity? So, by the way, this lashon that we have in the Yerushalmi, remember we talked about how the Yerushalmi is very heavily influenced by Tosefta. It's in Tosefta Perikei, halacha lamed. It's actually a long Tosefta. Anyway, so the Bavli says Genai. So the Chazdei David in Tosefta, he was Rav David Pedro. I believe his daughter was married to the Chida's son, and the Chida actually extols his Sfarim, and his Sfarim are phenomenal. The Shoshanim David on Mishnayos is phenomenally deep. The diukim and all the words in the Chazdei David and Tosefta, he also is medayik very much. And by the way, the Chazdei David that's printed on the Tosefta in the Bavli Shas at the end, that's a very abridged version. The actual version itself, I have it. It's like 12 volumes, and it's quite extensive and quite long. So he says that no, this is the pshat. In the Bavli, it's talking about a place where sodomy was very prevalent, and probably more homosexuality there as well. So therefore, it is a genai for a Talmud Chacham to go out that way, because that's how those people would act. However, in this Tosefta in Yerushalmi, that's talking about even in a place where there's no suspicion, since it wasn't the custom for Talmud Chacham to go out that way. So therefore, it's ein shivacho. Nobody would imply anything negative out of it, but that's the pshat. And again, just this distinction and this understanding is just a phenomenal diak in understanding the words. All right, let's move on to the next thing, because there's just literally so many ha'aras to share. All right, so there's a very interesting story here, which is brought down the halacha. But first, I'm going to just fast forward to drop. Minayin hamishtamesh b'kahuna mal. How do I know that if you use a Talmud Chacham, a Kohen, to do something, you've committed me'ila? Obviously not literally, but Riyacha b'shem Rav Shmuel says v'omra aleim atem kadosh l'Hashem v'kelim kadosh. So basically, this is the source that says that a person is not allowed to use there's a similarity between Talmud Chacham and Kohen, but a Kohen. So if someone's a Kohen, I had a very good friend who was a Kohen, and we used to always have a discussion about this. Okay, so let me go through a drop of things, and then we'll go back to the story here. So the Agalos Mordechai and Gittin, and the Marapanim brings us down over here, says that Kohen once poured water on Rabbeinu Tam's hands, and his disciple asked him, "Hey, the Yerushalmi says you're not allowed to, get work from a Kohen." So he doesn't give an answer for Rabbeinu Tam, but Rabbeinu Peter, you guessed it, it very well might have been the famous Peter, but that's way beyond the scope of this conversation. He said no, it doesn't apply when the Kohen waives his honor. And so obviously this Kohen was mochel because he wanted to do this for Rabbeinu Tam. Now, we're going to have another answer later, but that's what he said. And basically the Ramah in Arachaim Kuf Chaf Ches says that it's forbidden to be served by a Kohen. He brings this down. But if the Kohen is mochel, then it's mutter. Although the pasuk in Vayikra, Parak Chav Aleph, pasuk Ches, does seem to say he shall be holy, which means that he should stay holy. However, the Aruch HaShulchan, Sam Sofer, many other people that were on Shik, they all say that nowadays, since that was only the time when the Beis Midrash was around and the Kohen was actively doing avoda, then we're not allowed to use him. But in today's world, the Kohen is allowed to be mochel his honor. Okay, but now there's another problem, and that is that in this story, there's something very problematic. So what's the story? Abba Bar Chana and Rav Huna were sitting and eating, and Ze'era was standing and serving them. Okay, now Ze'era was the son of one of those two men. We'll get to that in a minute. So Rav Ze'era went up to them carrying both wine and fragrant oil in his hand, and Abba Bar Chana, who was the other person, with Rav Huna. Rav Huna was Ze'era's father, and Rav Huna and Ze'era were Kohanim. So Abba Bar Chana kind of chastised him and said, "What's in your other hand? Why are you holding them in one hand?" Meaning he held that the Gemara says that that you should carry one in one hand, one in the other, because that's how you make brachos. Ayin Sham, you'll see. And Abu Bar Chana's father got very angry at this comment and said to him that it's not enough that you're the one sitting here reclining while he's standing and serving you, and he's a Kohen. And Shmuel says, if you're mishtamish for the Kohen, you're a Maul, and you're now belittling him. I therefore decree that he should recline, and you should stand and serve him. So the Aruch HaShulchan asks, wait, what happened here? I thought it was us to be mishtamish Kohen. So why in the world? Why did he only say something now? Why until now was he not being mishamish? Was he allowing his son to do his work? So okay. So based on our answer, the Aruch HaShulchan says that no, if a Kohen's mochel, it's fine. But if the Kohen's not mochel, he's not fine. So if you're insulting my son, he's not mochel anymore. He was serving you because you were being respectful to him, so he wanted to do it. But now the way you're talking to him, he's not going to be mochel. So that mechila went off. Now the Agadas Layo gives a different answer, which is a beautiful answer. Agadas Layo says no. The pshat is that you're not allowed to be mishamish a Kohen, and there's no mechila. But since he was serving his father Huna, this is the covet to his father. So that the Kohen is allowed to do, and the Kohen was serving his father, and the Kohen was what's it called? And the Kohen was therefore agav serving this man as well, which is also an honor to his father. So according to these pshatim, that could explain the Mordechai, where you don't need to come on to Rabbeinu Peter's answer that he was mochel, although again that's how we paskin. But it very well could be that serving Rabbeinu Tam is like serving your own father, so therefore that's allowed, or serving your own rebbe is allowed. That could be another answer as well. And certainly the mechila part is very obvious that Rabbeinu Peter's answer, of course, is halacha l'maisa as well. But that's why he got upset at him and said to him that now he's not mochel because you're putting him down. Agadas also suggests that there was an insult there, that the mechila and all that stuff, but also the fact that you're treating him this way shows that you're putting him down and maybe giving a question on his kahuna. So therefore now I'm protesting at this point, now that you're putting him down, I'm protesting and saying he's a Kohen Miyuchas and don't mess with him. Okay, but that's some interesting conversations about that and some very interesting answers. Let's carry on. Again, there's tons here. So the Gemara says that there were two things that were Allah al das Hashem to be created, but he didn't create them till later, and that is fire and Kilayim, mixed breed. Now, this is like way beyond the scope of this conversation, but I'll just try to do a little bit of it. Ayin Sham and that Agadas Layo has a whole shtickle and Berachos on it. But basically, so it says that, so what happened? The Gemara says later that that Sivon and Anna, they took a female donkey and they mated it with a male horse, and then a perda came out. Now this perda, the Gemara says, it also says in the Babli, is a very, very dangerous animal. So they literally brought this dangerous animal, and the Gemara says that the Yerushalmi here says that Hashem came and said, you want to bring negative things into the world? So he brought a female snake and made it mate with a male toad, Hashem, and a chabarbar, which by the way is, we have this, it's the road, it's a very, very dangerous animal that kills. It came out of that, and according to the Eitz Yosef, the way he reads this, even though it doesn't say it in the Gemara, it doesn't say it in the Medrash either, but he says that actually Anna got bitten by it. Anna was the one that created it, and it killed him. But anyway, so the question is, so why didn't Hashem create these things? So the pshat is that they needed to be in the world, but they were dangerous. So then, if that's true, then the Gemara says later that Adam himself was the one that created fire. Hashem showed it to him on Matzei Shabbos, which is why we make the bracha. The Yerushalmi says on Ner on Matzei Shabbos. So then, what's going on? Why did he bring this negative thing into the world? Right. So what's the pshat? That what is this a negative thing? Okay. So first of all, Agadas explains that fire. He says many Jews have been burned at a stake, but fire also brings heat, gives life, gives food. So it's just a matter of how you use it properly. So in the one hand, Hashem didn't want to create it, but Hashem showed him that after you went through a Shabbos, and now you know how to be Makadosh the world, now use this fire wisely. So it's not a kasha that Adam created it. But then, what about the fact that these Kilayim came about? So there's two ways of reading it. Some people will learn that the pshat is that Megalgalin Chovai de Chayev, and that this was a negative thing, this Kilayim, which, like the Sefer HaChinuch explains, that Kilayim is Machishan Pamaya Shamal, according to the Gemara. What does that mean? You're contradicting God. God created the world in a certain way, and so He wants the world to stay in that way, in that specific way, and by creating grafting things, you're kind of going against the plan. Now, obviously, Hashem made it that certain things do graft, like certain fruits that we eat are grafted, plums, etc. And of course, we're not allowed to plant them, but we are allowed to eat them, which is a whole different discussion. But anyway, so some people learn that there's actually machlokas in the Gemara. One pshat is that the Kilayim were not a bad thing, and the other pshat is this second Gemara that I read, that Anna created it actively, and therefore it was a negative thing. But another way to look at it is Megalgal and Chovai Dechayev, that he himself was a Rasha, Sivon seemingly and Anna as well, and therefore this bad thing came about through them. But Be'etzem, that wasn't necessarily that they were what's it called, that they were. It wasn't necessarily saying that this is the only bad thing they ever did in their life. It could be there was a big context there. Another two more quick points. The Gemara says that the or of Sheshes Berachos lasted for 36 hours because Adam sinned on Friday when he was being nana from the R, but he wasn't kicked out of Gan Eden even though he should have been. He was allowed to stay for the whole Shabbos, so it ended up staying for 36 hours. Now it's Yadua in the Sfarim that 36 hours is connected the Bavli's 36 Mesaftas. Ayin Sham, you can count it, but the Agadas Layo brings a beautiful shot, and he says that what's the shot? There was 36 hours of this light. So he says that Yoshua Shemesh v'Givon Dom v'Areach v'Emek Yalom. So he says that when Yoshua had the sun stay up in the air, and he kept it going. The Targum says in Yoshua for 36 hours. So Ein Kol Chadash Tachas HaShemesh, you can't have something new that would never had a precedent. Everything happened. So therefore, during Sheshes Berachos, this had to happen, that you would have this precedent that the sun stood for 36 hours, and therefore that would allow it to happen. Now you realize two things. One of them is that it's very meduic because the entire point of that battle was conquering Eretz Yisrael, which is the tachlis of Klal Yisrael coming into Eretz Yisrael, which is Yeshua's main tafkid of that last 14 years of his life. Most important years of his life to a certain degree of carrying Moshe's mission was conquering Eretz Yisrael. And Gan Eden, let's not go into exactly where it's located, but definitely the 36 hours of the Ar Haganos is literally the tafkid of the world, the Ar Tzadikim, etc., etc. But there's another thing, which is that Chazal tell us that whatever happened to Yeshua happened to Moshe. So Moshe was Pnei Moshe Pnei Chama Pnei Yeshua Kilvana, and so that L'chora would mean L'chora. I haven't found a makar for this in Chazal, and I'm curious if anyone knows that when Moshe stopped the sun in his time in the Chumash, which is at the end of Parshas Bamidbar, Sefer Bamidbar. So L'chora that also would have been 36 hours, and is the exact same thing. Agav, totally Agav of an Agav. There's a discussion about the correlation between just the entire Sefer of Chumash and the entire Yoshua, which the Gemara says, I believe in Megillah, that if Klal Yisrael wouldn't have sinned, we would have had Chumash and Megillah. But the Gemara says in Tainus, I'm sorry, I'm going too quick here. We would have had Chamisha Chumshei Torah and Sefer Yoshua. Why Sefer Yoshua? Because that's going to Eretz Yisrael. But there's another omek, which is that the Gemara tells us that in Tainus that everything that's found in Chumash is found in anything in Nach is found in Chumash. So, and the entire Yoshua has many, many parallels between Moshe and Yoshua and their lives. If you look through it, you'll see dozens and dozens of even Achan, who was Maul, Chazos Asisi, he was mauled by Moshe and by Yoshua. There's just so many correlations. Chazak B'Amatz is said to both of them. Ayin Sham, you'll see. You'll learn it. You'll learn through Yoshua. Just think about it. You'll see. But anyway, the last thing I want to say is that this correlation of Rebbe and Talmud that Yoshua was downgraded to Pnei Chama, to Pnei Levana from Moshe, we find the same thing by Eliyahu and Elisha. And Eliyahu was connected to Moshe, and there's a lot of correlations between their lives, even the Nikvas Asur and the 40 days of fasting, and all these things. There are correlations between them, like the Gemara and Bavli and Berachos. But anyway, and Yoshua being the Talmud who followed after. But the interesting thing is that when Elisha died, when Elisha is escorting Eliyahu who dies, so Eliyahu asked for Pishtayim. Elisha asked for Pishtayim Ruchacha. I don't want to be like Yoshua, where he was part of half of you. I want double of you. It's very interesting. Very, very fascinating. Last Ha'ara, Bleeder, for right now, is that the Gemara says that the Eish was created on Matzei Shabbos, and therefore we do more Borei Mera Eish on Matzei Shabbos. So Kiyadua, this whole thing about the nails, that we look at the nails because Adam's body was created that way. This is a Pirkei of Elazar, which quotes some of the parts of our Gemara. Ayin Sham for a lot more Makaros. Have a great day.